The sun rose over Oak Ridge community, its quiet streets glistening after a night of rain. The birds sang, lawns were neatly trimmed, and the world looked peaceful. But beneath that calm tension was brewing again. Ever since the old president's scandal had ended, everyone thought the storm was over. They were wrong. For a short while, hope had returned. Meetings were fair, budgets were public, and neighbors talked again. Sarah, the new acting president, brought warmth and empathy. She smiled often, listened to everyone, and promised change. For a moment, people believed her, but as weeks passed, the pressure began to build. Running an HOA wasn't as simple as being kind. Complaints poured in. Noise, paint colors, parking violations. Every day brought new demands. And when you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one.
Sarah started learning that the hard way. Meanwhile, Jake, once the loudest critic of the board, had finally found peace.
He was tired of fighting. Maybe this time it'll work, he told Lisa one evening, sitting on his porch. She nodded slowly, but her eyes were uncertain. Or maybe it's just calm before the storm. The storm came in the form of a white envelope. Jake opened it to find a notice. HOA violation. Unauthorized fence modification. He laughed in disbelief. Fence modification? I haven't changed anything in years. He stormed into Sarah's office the next morning. This has to be a mistake. Sarah looked surprised but uneasy. Jake, I didn't issue this. The compliance committee handles that now. Jake frowned. And who exactly runs that committee? Sarah hesitated.
3 new members.
They were elected last month. Jake left her office with a sinking feeling. He didn't need to ask who they were, the same people who had despised him for exposing the corruption months ago. They had found their way back into power. Within days, the letters started spreading like wildfire. Lisa received one for her garden overgrowth. A single weed had crossed the concrete line. Another neighbor was fined for having non-approved mailbox color. Every complaint felt targeted. At the next HOA meeting, the hall was packed. Frustration filled the air like static. Sarah tried to speak calmly. Please, one at a time. We'll resolve all issues fairly. But a voice shouted from the back. That's what the last president said too. Murmurs turned into yelling. Jake stood up. Enough games. We fought to make this HOA fair, but it's turning into the same old dictatorship. Cheers erupted. Sarah's face turned pale. She looked back at her board, but instead of support, she saw arrogance. One of the new members smirked. After the meeting, Sarah confronted them. This isn't what we promised. These people trust us. The man leaned back in his chair. Trust doesn't keep order, Sarah. Rules do. She slammed her notebook shut. Rules without compassion destroy communities. He shrugged. Maybe that's what they need, on a control. The next few days were chaos. Social media groups exploded with angry posts. HOA gone crazy again. New fines every week. Who's really in charge now? Residents divided into sides once again. Reformers versus enforcers. Lisa, always calm but fierce, gathered signatures for a petition to reform the committee. We built this place with our hands, she said, standing under a flickering streetlight. We're not slaves to signatures and stamps. Jake filmed her speech and posted it online. Within hours, it spread across the community. When Sarah saw the video, she felt something shift inside her. The faces of the residents, untired, frustrated, betrayed, reminded her of herself months ago. She remembered the day she had stood in the same crowd, demanding truth from the old president. And now she was sitting in the same chair he once occupied. That night, Sarah stayed late in the boardroom. The lights flickered, papers were scattered, and rain hit the windows. She stared at the bylaws in front of her, rules that were supposed to protect, not punish. Her reflection in the glass looked older, heavier. What have I become? She whispered. In the silence, she made a decision. The next morning, she called an emergency meeting. The entire neighborhood showed up. Cameras, phones, whispers, everyone wanted to know what would happen. Sarah stepped up to the microphone. I owe you all an apology, she began. We said this HOA would be transparent, fair, and just. But somewhere along the way, we lost our way again. We became what we once fought against. The room fell silent. She turned to her board. Effective immediately, the compliance committee is dissolved. All current fines will be reviewed, and a fair election will be held for new representatives. Gasps filled the room. One board member stood, furious. You can't make that decision alone. Sarah faced him. I'm not. I'm making it with the people who live here. The crowd erupted in applause, thunderous, emotional, real. Jake and Lisa exchanged a glance. Looks like she finally did it, Lisa said softly. Jake smiled. She remembered what this was all for. In the following weeks, the transformation was slow but powerful. Volunteers replaced enforcers. Meetings turned from battles into discussions. For the first time in years, laughter echoed through the park during the annual community picnic. The fences, the flowers, the mailboxes, everything looked the same, yet the air felt lighter. Sarah eventually stepped down. Not out of defeat but peace. She handed the gavel to a new leader chosen by the residents themselves. When Jake met her in the park that day, he simply said, "You did the right thing." She smiled. "No, Jake, we did." As the sun set that evening, the neighborhood glowed golden. The home stood proud, not because of rules, but because of unity. The sound of children playing mixed with the soft hum of sprinklers, the laughter of friends, and the relief of freedom. Power had tried to divide them again. But this time, the people were stronger. They had learned that real community isn't built on control. It's built on courage, forgiveness, and the will to keep each other human. And for Oak Ridge, that lesson would echo through every home, every heart, and every generation that came after.